God damn it, motherfucker. Piece of shit. Fucking chair. God, I have to price all fucking money. I'm just kidding. We're still talking about videos game. In 2010, to coincide with the release of the film of the same name, full-time hive of harassment and part-time game developer Ubisoft partnered with Universal Pictures and Oni Press to create Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, a retro-styled beat-em-up where you play as some of the film and comics characters to battle through various set pieces from the aforementioned works. Scott Pilgrim is not only my favorite film, but the source material is my favorite comic, so when I was 12, I lapped this game up immediately and played it through a good 3 or 4 times. The title never released physically or on PC. It was only available on the Xbox 360 and PS3 marketplaces. I had a 360, so that's where I got it. I got older, I moved on, and my 360 started to collect some dust. I didn't much care, I wasn't really playing anything around that time, and this lovely little game started to fade from my memory. And then in December 2014, 4 years after the game's release, it vanished. There has never been a publicly clear statement about what caused the game to be removed from online storefronts. Will you fucking stop it? I can let you out. Do you want me to let you out? I can let you out of my room. I'm sorry, babe. I'm sorry. And then, in December 2014, 4 years after the game's release, it vanished. There has never been a publicly clear statement about what caused the game to be removed from online storefronts, and the most logical assumptions have been that the Universal licensing had expired and there wasn't enough interest to renew it. Similar things have happened with a large chunk of the Marvel Comics games from the late 2000s and early 2010s, as well as Alan Wake for a few years before it was brought back. These licensing mishaps happen often and usually without warning, where titles will vanish with the grave possibility of them never even returning. And because this usually seems to happen to beloved titles with small but passionate fan bases, the internet does what it does and screams about it. They screamed, and I screamed with them, until in September 2020, during a Ubisoft Forward conference, we got this. My Xbox 360 still has this game on it from when I was 12, and playing it again just confirmed how much joy this tie-in title had brought me, flooding me with a wave of nostalgia usually reserved for the PS2 or Nintendo 64 catalogs. And playing it again while boasting to myself that I still had a working system with the game downloaded on it, I couldn't help but feel a strong pang of sadness for those who missed out on the title over the past 6 years. But that pang quickly turned into pride as the fan outcry kept the beating heart of this game, from the simple controls to the lovely pixel art to Anna Monoguchi's perfect chiptune score, alive. I always love a good fan campaign. Sometimes I'll go in the replies of Netflix's corporate tweets and smile at the fans still clamoring for more Anne with an E or Sense8 or any of the other properties brutally axed by Netflix's algorithm. Bring back Santa Clarita Diet. While some of these fan campaigns can go too far and create a warped version of history that is easily exploited for profit and buzz, and you know exactly which one I'm talking about, it's nice seeing people love something so much. There would not be a version of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World that released at the beginning of this year if not for the fan outcry, and the release onto personal computers guarantees that no matter what, the game will stay alive in some small capacity. Fandom can keep things alive and keep art in high enough demand that it reaches new audiences and new generations, so all of that work and love and time isn't gone to waste. Without these campaigns, there is an almost 100% chance that Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game, would have fallen into the annals of history. And we wouldn't want it to go the way of Tron Evolution, now would we? Four years after the release of Scott Pilgrim, in the year it was delisted, in 2014, as part of the marketing for the then-upcoming Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro-directed Silent Hills, full-time hive of harassment and part-time game developer Konami released the PS4 exclusive PT, short for Playable Teaser. It's a brief, endless loop of a single hallway, and it may just be the single most horrifying thing I have ever experienced. No joke, this game is cursed. I'm not Catholic, but that and Eraserhead are the two pieces of media that make me believe that demons A, are real, and B, they're in my computer. It's some of the best, most deliciously evil stuff I have ever encountered. And, for both your enjoyment and the enjoyment of our editor, most of the footage here will be from me playing the VR remake of the game by Steam user Ambient Druth, currently being developed within Half-Life Alyx. Oh god, I'm just gonna... I'm just gonna sit here for a second. Oh, fuck. Less than a year after its release, the growing conflict between Kojima and Konami became so strong that, among other things, PT was removed from the PlayStation Store and Silent Hills was cancelled. This caused an outcry and a series of controversies and criticisms from the fans that loved this microcosmic masterpiece. But, unlike with our previous case study, the community didn't stop there. PT has been notably remade in game creation tools like the defunct Project Spark and the recent Dreams, as well as more precise remakes in 2018 and 2019, both of which were promptly pulled from their download pages, although the 2019 Unreal PT by Radius Gordello I was able to track down. Because of its short length and overall quality, PT has become a game that refuses to die, with fans knowing full well that soon a Konami cease and desist will be coming, but still keeping the spirit of the game alive and playable to new generations to come, provided that they work hard enough to find it. This is unique. The closest comparison to this phenomenon I could find would be now cancelled MMOs that are kept limping through eternity with the help of fan servers. But even those don't fully capture the dedication shown through the PT remakes. Months and months of people's lives are given to a project with a month-long shelf life at best, or is tied inexorably to a different, usually very niche, and often soon-to-be defunct product. Rest in peace, Project Spark. These recreations are a delight to see even as someone who has never used a DualShock 4 to walk through that damned hallway. It keeps a piece of gaming history alive, and doubly functions as a wonderful middle finger to arguably the biggest AAA corporate floundering this medium has seen since Atari in the 80s. I mean, it has to be done. We wouldn't want it to go the way of the original Final Fantasy XIV now, would we? Five years after the release of PT, 4 years after its delisting, in 2019, as a follow-up to the critical smash Detention, full-time badass and full-time game developer, seriously, I love these guys, they do not get a snarky joke, they're awesome, Taiwanese developer Red Candle Games released Devotion, a psychological horror title that absolutely rules. If you haven't played Detention, it's a masterpiece, and if you can find a copy of Devotion, by any means necessary, play these two games. I say any means necessary because a week after its release, Devotion was completely scrubbed from any legal storefront on the internet due to a placeholder art asset deep within the game's files that contained the words Xi Jinping Winnie the Pooh, referencing a meme comparing the Chinese leader to the classic Disney character. Red Candle Games themselves removed the title, but when a few months later the Chinese government revokes the license of one of the game's original publishers, and considering the difficult relationship between Taiwan and China, it's not hard to see signs of a strong-arming. To date, there has been no official re-release of Devotion aside from a week of Thai-only pre-orders in June of last year, and Red Candle has stated that they have no current plans to make the game available in the near future due to the controversy. Currently, the only legally obtained copies of Devotion in the United States are on computers that bought it in the week it was available, or in the Harvard Yenching Library where
Yenching.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. Currently, the only legally obtained copies of Devotion in the United States are on computers that bought it in the week it was available or in the Harvard Yenching Library, but it did release on PC, and unlike console games, PC files are very easy to upload online. I know there are a lot of conflicting arguments about the morality behind pirating a game, but here, honestly, I see no moral quandary, as there is no way to compensate Red Candle for their work on their game outside of buying their previous title in solidarity, which I have done. As the PC market grows and grows and fewer titles become exclusively crafted for consoles, it brings me great peace to know that if a future title comes under similar fire, the games can be preserved and offered to the world at large. Devotion is a very good game, and it deserves to be played as both an intentional and unintentional piece of cultural criticism in worldly events, as well as expanding more players to titles made outside of English and Japanese-speaking countries. It can't be lost. We don't want it to go the way of the Slaughtering Grounds now, would we? Epilogue. How dare I? At its core, I want this video to be an ode to games that have, for one reason or another, become unable to be played in their original forms and demand other ways to keep them in the cultural sphere. PT and Devotion are all more than worthy of this treatment. I want to think back to the potshots I made in this video to Tron Evolution, the original Final Fantasy XIV, and the Slaughtering Grounds, as well as other games no longer available through the proper channels, good and bad. You can't buy Ride to Hell Retribution on Steam anymore, and that stinks! Not just because it's a notable title that is still discussed, but because it's a part of the medium we all love simply by virtue of its existence. A game should not have to be a cult classic, a beloved gem, or an unfairly stricken down title to deserve to be remembered, and to have its expulsion from the internet bemoaned. The Slaughtering Grounds and James Are Mine are scum, but the game is an invaluable piece of the history of both how fair use is discussed on YouTube and the Steam storefront. It should be remembered and discussed, and that there are games that have suffered this fate that I do not and will never know about is tragic, honestly. What we have once enjoyed we can never lose, so says the quote at the beginning of this video, but it's more than enjoyment. What we have once experienced or heard of or brushed shoulders with passing through the annals of the internet we shouldn't be able to ever lose. Because if the only games we care about preserving are the ones that are beloved by us, if the only arguments for a maintained existence that matter center around my or anyone else's nostalgia, who's to say we aren't depriving someone in the future of finding their favorite game simply because they did not have the privilege of being around to fight for it yet? Back up your files. Keep art alive. Thank you.